we only rehearsed about 4 days. From the time we heard, Lars had never heard this Nick Cave song before. I hand him the CD, he puts it in his head, and he's playing the song. All of a sudden, we're recording it, less than a week later.
Wow.
So there was a lot more kind of spur of the moment stuff, a lot more vibe. It was definitely a lot more fun. We put all these songs on the table and we just digested them and, spit them out Metallica style. There's only so much you can kind of mess with the sounds, when you go in to hear back a song or to listen to a mix. Your ear goes right to, I dial in that guitar sound that I love, and that will it's not going to change that drastically. And Lars, his drum sound and things, so it ends up sounding like Metallica. Well, that's kind of the beauty of doing covers. You can do whatever you want with them. They're already kind of there for you. Everything's written, and if you chop it up and move it around, you can always blame it on, well, it's just a cover, Doing these covers, it kind of tests your musicianship, and you'll go and play things that you wouldn't have written on your own. And it might, make your fingers move a different way and, spur you on to try something new. Things are damn good, man. Things are all right. And like I said about kind of paying these bands back for helping you out in the early days, we took their songs and called them ours, Metallica Live Tonight at the Troubadour, half the set is Diamond Head, but no one knew and they didn't care, and we didn't tell them. So we do owe them something.
We went into Kirk's basement about 30 hours after the last show from the summer tour, and started knocking these songs around. We talked about what songs we were going to come in with the next day, and so and so and so, and do 3 or 4 songs each day, and try to just figure out some kind of handle. Where's it going to go? For a long time, we've been talking about, doing another Garage Days type of vibe. Set yourself with a deadline so that you can't get it too perfect, keep it all raw and real nice and like that. Not rehearse it too much, not know the songs too much. Go in and really be able to put our own spin on them. That's been talked about for quite a while. A couple of the choices were already made quite some time ago, and then a lot of them have just come about in the last couple of months here, trying to figure out exactly which heroes that we wanted to give the shout out to. We hadn't already covered that. Some people were redoing again Misfits things, and Diamond Head and that are very, very obvious inspirations from Metallica, right? Sure. So we always want to give them a little bit, but the other more obscure things, Nick Cave and Bob Seger and those kind of things, are reaching out a bit as we can, like we have been doing a lot the last few years. First we try on acoustic instruments, then James would try to sing it this way, and then we'd do just, Lars with the tambourine hits and a, side stick or something like that, trying to feel through it, what moods we were going to create. Then we decided, okay, this has got to be Metallica, man. We're Metallica, right? So let's kick it up a little bit, give it some volume, and play the way we play. Go for what you know, type of thing. And so that's how most of them came about, is that you find a tone that you're comfortable within as a Metallica player, and then put it on there. So we decide together what the tempo's going to be, what the feel's going to be, and then put our own, it has to be our sound still. The most important thing about this really is the fun factor, not having to get like in the Metallica recording mode of everything has to be under such a huge microscope and everything has to be so perfect. This thing gets to be raw and rough and fun and, sloppy and like it should be, like rock and roll should be. It's very much rock and roll, that's the cool thing. The intention of this is to give credit where credit's due, to give the shout out to our heroes, man. That is the thing, that's why we do it. We're exactly the opposite of what everybody would think. We want to do it because we're saying, yes, you did something for us. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be playing like we do. Here you go, man.
I'll tell you how it's been difficult. When I leave the studio, all I hear in my head is Merciful Fate, Diamond Head. I can't get it out of my head. Now I'll sit there and just roll over in my sleep and hear these songs in my head. The guitar playing, the actual physical aspect of the guitar playing is no problem, I didn't really have a problem with that. It's just getting the songs out of my head once I've left the studio. That was the difficult thing. We're definitely wearing our influences on our sleeves with this one again. Yeah, this album is a bit biographical, autobiographical, in a musical sense, because these are all bands that have been such a huge inspiration to us, and a huge influence on us. And by listening to this album, you can tell where we got a lot of our ideas, really. I mean, it's just plain and simple. These are some of the most influential bands in Metallica's career.
The whole idea about the project, if you generalize, is that because of the nature of our own records, the sort of how we write these songs and then spend sort of like a year recording them and going over every single detail with a, just a fine comb and sitting there and analyzing everything, what we need all the time and have throughout a career, it's a project like this to balance the sort of silly ways that we record our own material. We could never be this, I don't think we could ever be this instinctive and this spontaneous.